Are you a mom who has all of the things and you probably look great on a piece of paper, but you feel completely unfulfilled or completely like, is this it? If you resonate with either one of those, stick around for the show and all the juicy details that we plan to reveal. My name, of course, as you know, is Leslie Urbis. I'm a registered dietitian, a personal trainer, and as you know, I like to say, I am a recovering selfless overachiever who is here to help other women really uncover the lies that we have been told and help us to step into who we truly are. And today, I'm super excited to have this conversation with Steph and to really discuss the deeper pieces of really the selfless overachiever and how to recognize when we're in this state when no one else is allowing us to express our feelings the way we desire. So, Steph, welcome to the show. Tell me more
Ooh,
about yourself and what you do.
all the things. Yes, you just hit the nail on the head for so many things for me. I'm Steph Pellish, and I am a mom of four and a huge supporter for women and a huge supporter to bring women into community. I specifically bring in women who own their own business, but I also have a lot of moms in my community because as a mom of four, I was in survival mode for, I'm going to say about 10 years, and I didn't have the words or the support system to one, know how I knew it was bad in my mind, but when I would say it out loud, I didn't have anybody who was validating how bad it was for me. And so I just kept feeling like it was me and it must just be this way. And so it has been a journey over the last few years of me figuring out how to get out of that survival mode and creating real support systems and finding people who not just validated me, but then also supported me moving forward through it.
Yeah. So paint that picture for us. I know as a mom, I can tell you I resonate with that. I don't have four, I have two, and I wanted three until they both talked back to me at one time, and I was smarter than to have the third. I was more. Actually, they didn't
Three
talk
is the
back. They
hardest
both had a
too.
meltdown. They both had a meltdown. That was the moment. They were both melting down, and I was like, I don't know how to help because
Yes.
like my own brain went, what? Now I'm in survival. Now I can't think. And I was like, okay, I'm officially done. I literally wanted three until that day. My son had just turned, I want to say 14 and a half or 15 months, and it would have been around the time we would try for the third. As soon as that happened, I was just like texting my husband. I was like, we are done. And he was like, I'm going to need a context.
So that's so funny because I was the complete opposite. I was sitting, so we had three very close. Every 2 years we had a baby. So we had three under 4 years old.
Same.
And I was so overwhelmed. We can get into like all of the pieces that we had going on, but essentially we had a baby. 4 months later, we bought a house. About 3 months later, instead of putting money into the house, we bought a business that then quickly took a lot more money than we had anticipated. And so having three young kids, a new house, and a new business, I was so overstretched. And I was also at the same time obsessed with having a fourth baby. And my husband would be like, no, this is a terrible idea. This, like, we're done. And deep in my, like, and I say, like, my intuition knew that she's a girl. So my intuition knew that she was coming and that she was meant for me. But now I know it was my anxiety. At the time, I wasn't quite that clear on what it was, but I was like, I felt crazy. I felt like I have so much going on. How could I possibly want another baby? But I did. And so I have the opposite story of I was all in that and still like, but I need more. I need more to take on. Yeah. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. I just kept feeling like I needed to take on more, even though I had nothing to give because I felt so unfulfilled in my own life. Because on paper, when I would talk to my doctor about what I was feeling or how I was doing, I remember being in the office with her, and I guess my third must have been a baby because I remember him being in the car seat and just kind of like feeling overwhelmed in that moment and crying. And she was like, but you're such a great mom. You're doing such a great job. And I was like, okay, I'm doing such a great job, but she doesn't see me at home. She doesn't see me losing my mind at my kids. She doesn't see me arguing with my husband. Like, so on the outside, people were like, "You're doing such a great job." But on the inside, I was like, well, they just don't know me. And so then when I would talk to my husband about it, he would just kind of say, "You're always this miserable. Like, you're always like this. Like, what do you expect?" And I'd be like, "All right, I don't feel like I've always been this miserable." And then I would talk to my mom, and my mom would just say, "Pray more." And so those 3 people, my husband, my mom, and my doctor, the 3 people who should have, should have been my support system, were gaslighting me, were not hearing what I was saying. Now, was I not saying the right words? Was I not going to the right people? All the things. Were they doing their best and meaning well? Absolutely. But I didn't have, and even my friends, like I would talk to my friends and they also couldn't relate to the feelings that I was having. They would just kind of be like, okay. I was like, oh, again, it must just be me. And so, through it really took a huge hit on my marriage. Our marriage started to fall apart in 2019 and 2020. We had that 4th baby. I finally had convinced my husband that it was not a terrible idea. Um, and she's amazing. We love her. But, um, and then he kind of came to me and said, "This isn't working. I want out." And I went into panic mode and I was like, no. And so then that's when I started with therapy and actually finding the support that I needed, the systems that I needed, the tools that I needed to get myself out of that constant need to prove myself, to show up for all of the things and feel like I was not enough.
Yeah, I was ferociously like trying to remember the name of this woman, and it'll come to me eventually as I know. I think she should be in my, thinking of it now, she should be in my DMs. She calls herself the Midlife Muse.
Hmm.
And I'm only quoting her because this is not something that I've ever said before. Dr. Amanda Hansen is her name. And she actually speaks about how women often gaslight women or often shove it down because as boys they're taught not to cry, right? They can be angry but they're taught not to cry, right? Not the same in my household whatsoever, but was the way that we were raised, right? Okay, back in the 80s 90s, before that, boys don't cry and girls don't get angry, right? And so us explaining this piece that's like, I've got the boxes checked. As I state all the time, it was like I wasn't actually aware of what I did until the boxes were checked because that was the to-do list, right? The
Right.
to-do list was go to school, get the job, do the thing, get married, have the kids. And then when the boxes are all checked, you're like, what's next?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What's next? Like what comes next? Nobody tells me what's next, I actually talked to my husband about this a little while ago. I was like, do you remember when we used to dream? We used to dream about what it would be like to be married and have kids and to do the thing. Well, now we're doing the thing. Where is the next dream?
Right.
Like we dream vacations, but I mean like the next dream. Like what's the next phase? Like we need a next dream. We need the next achievement. We need that. And we've really changed that in ourselves. But to many people, they override you. And what she says is she says, that when a woman hands you a tissue when they're crying, what they're really saying to you is wipe your face up, don't show what's really happening on the inside. When a woman says to you, I'm overwhelmed, it's like, oh, it's just today. Instead of saying that,
Yeah.
say, tell me more.
Yes.
Like, let me know what's really going on inside of you, because it can be that it could be just today, right? I had a day like that on Sunday. I was telling
Absolutely.
you about the moon.
Absolutely.
I had a day like that on Sunday. I was overwhelmed. I just kind of looked at my kids and was like, I am not mad at you. I am not frustrated at you. This is all inside me.
Overwhelmed.
And I
Yeah.
don't know why. I don't know why. And then I was like,
Having a
oh,
day.
it's the moon. It's the moon. I got it. Anyways, but with that being said, and you knowing that, and you knowing that this is your reality, what kind of happened next after that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there was a point and I I had a terrible experience with my first therapist. She actually got mad at me and yelled at me in a session. And
Mm,
I was like, this is not appropriate. Clearly, I triggered her. So I found another therapist, and it was a phenomenal match. She was so supportive. She was so validating. And it was the first time in my life where anything I said was heard. And somebody wasn't coming back at me to say, no, that's not right. It was just, oh, okay, that's your experience. Tell me more about it. Nobody was trying to fix it, or she wasn't trying to fix it. She was
mhm,
trying to understand. And she said two things to me. One, she's the one that when I was like, well, I have all these things and da, 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 and I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed. She's like, yeah, Steph, that's anxiety. And it was like a smack in the face to me. I was like, I have anxiety? Like, that's what this feeling is? And so that was a huge, huge piece for me, like just that awareness, because I could see anxiety in other people, but it didn't match mine. So where they would show anxiety, that's not how my thinking matched what they were saying or where I could see it in theirs, interestingly. But the other thing she said to me too was she's like, every woman deserves to talk about themselves for an hour, at least an hour every week. And I
mhm,
was like, yeah, you know what? I deserve the opportunity to share what's going on in my brain and in my mind because I'm a verbal processor.
mhm,
And so, but I needed to learn what I would do is I would share, but not in the places where it was necessarily appropriate to share or with people who understood. And so that gave me a place where it was appropriate. I get to talk about myself. Whereas with my friends, or even sometimes in new groups with women, like I would just overshare and not super inappropriately, but I was kind of like, here's all my stuff. Can you relate? Nope. All right, that's fine. I'll just move on.
mhm,
But it was just my way of like, that's the only way I knew how to connect was like, here's all of my trauma. Let me share it with you so that you don't find it later and think that there's something wrong with me later. I'll just show it to you now so we can see if we're going to be a good fit. And so a lot of it for me was the therapy and learning that awareness and learning the tools and the skills. And then honestly, building a community because even still, like we don't have family that's close by. I have 4 kids. I wanted to build a business. I wanted to do all of the things, the overachiever in me, but I didn't have the foundation to support that. And so I kept trying to do all of those things before actually creating a foundation. And so now I have a community of women business owners where right now we're working to figure out how do we support all of us as women from the foundation? Because what do we really need? We need somebody who's going to show up to watch our kids when our babysitter cancels. We need somebody to help us get meals together so that when it's time to take the kids to sports, we don't need to stop working to cook meals for an hour to then go run kids sport. Like there are so many pieces of being a mom that not take us away from the work that we want to do because I really like I love my kids. I love my family. I love doing both. But there are times where it's hard because I want to stretch myself too thin. And the things like running my kids to practice, I love doing that. Making them dinner, I hate cooking. And so who else can come cook for me so that I don't have to expend the energy on doing that? And so like how do we create those foundational pieces where it's not just like a one-time thing, where it's really a system, like a systemic piece culturally to support women, especially moms, more wholly, more holistically, more as a person and all of the avenues. Because I think, we now like are like women can do everything that men can do, right? Like women are as equal to men, and yet they don't have the same support system. If my kid's home from school sick, it probably means I'm staying home. Now, my husband is also able to work from home. He watches, he doesn't watch the kids. He parents, like he's with the kids as well when they're sick. And so I have that flexibility of I have a partner who's also able to do those things. But that's not true for every mom, for every woman. And when it comes down to the default, I'm the default there. So I've got to ask him if he can stay home today. Or I then need to go find the other support to support our family. He's not finding a babysitter. I am. And so now that's taking me out of or using my energy, or I can't find someone. So now I'm out for the day.
Totally, yeah. So you've created this community, I guess, in person where you are?
Yeah, so it's a local community. We're building our virtual community a little bit, but we're a local community of women that come together to at least 2 times a month to meet. So we network, and
Nice.
women network very differently than men. And so it's like, who are you? What are you doing? Like, and we allow for that conversation and that flow. And then we do a mastermind in the middle of the month that's really about supporting each other's business. But we are all about collaboration, all about like that deeper support that women want and women need. And it's about the conversation. Whereas, like, I've been involved in a lot of business groups online or networking things online. You can't have those side conversations when you're in a Zoom room with 20 people. One person can go at a time. You kind of need to listen and wait. Whereas in a space where 20 women come in, there can be those side conversations, there can be those connections. You're getting to know people more at that personal level, that deeper level. And so it's just been an incredible experience for me in developing more supportive relationships and creating a community where women can come in and feel validated, feel heard that, hey, solopreneurship, or some of our women own businesses that have many employees, and even they come in and they just feel like they need that someone else who understands what it's like to own a business, because your employees don't understand. They're not financially responsible for the business. They're not putting in all of this time and energy to make sure that the business operates. Of course, they hopefully want you to succeed, but at the end of the day, again, like, they're not the default. You're the default. And so when you're always the default for yourself, for your family, for your children, for your business, you need a foundation to land on when those defaults are all necessary.
Totally, yeah, yeah. So if somebody's interested and let's say they're around where you live or they're virtual, how would they connect with you?
Yeah, so our community is called Teacup Entrepreneurs, and we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can find us on our website, which hopefully will be up and running in the next week or two. We're doing a lot of work there to just get everything set up. But yeah, so you can find us at Teacup Entrepreneurs on Instagram or on Facebook.
I love it. That's awesome.
We're
And
on
so those,
YouTube. We're on YouTube too. I do interviews of our entrepreneurs there as well.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So definitely connect. Below this, there will be a link to all of those places where you can connect with her and really see there. Is there anything, any final words you want to leave with everybody today?
Yeah, I just hope that anyone who's listening that's feeling like they need that fulfillment or they're missing something, you're not missing something. You're missing the support that you need to feel validated and to then just feel better.
Totally. Yeah, you heard it from her. So definitely check her out. And if you feel called, ask questions away or comment below. We will gladly answer for you. Outside of that, please like, subscribe, and share. Watch the video, enjoy, and share with your friends and spread the word about the cool things that Steph is doing with her business. Thank you guys so much for listening, and
Thank
bye
you.
for now.